Right. Apologies, it took a little longer than normal. A couple of the games did run over a couple weeks because time constraints. It's life. It happens. So now all four fixtures have been completed, at least to their best ability, and reported to me. Let's go through them. Also, apologies for the throat. Little under the weather. But wanted to make sure at least get this out so people know who they're playing. People who are watching and following the league know what's going on. Start with the first fixture, which was the Undead Failures versus the Mad Cows. Adam and Stuart. It was an extremely close affair. This was one of the two games that caused the extension. But first half was 0-0. Total stalemate. And this was on the attacking side for the Mad Cows. But, unfortunately, while the Undead Failures were putting up a valiant effort and arguably one of their better performances of the season so far, fell in the second half, despite attacking, to end up losing 2-0 to the Mad Cows. And it was a good match, despite not much happening, barely any casualties, barely anything. It was a very tactical and very interesting game. The opposite can be said, but for all the better reasons, of the next fixture, which was the Roaring Rovers versus the Daves, my team against Liam's team, ended 4-1 on touchdowns to the Roaring Rovers, with a 2-1 on casualties also to the Roaring Rovers. The Daves did get a kill on a zombie, nothing special, but the moment of the season for every other team but me was the fact that for a period of time the bounty had been claimed on Best Boy as he was dead. He was dead on the pitch, and luckily, thanks to a regeneration roll that was made successfully. And might I add as well, the second that this result was announced that Best Boy was dead and pending a regen roll, it was incredibly funny that the entire room swarmed my table to see and hope for Best Boy's death, but nah. Best Boy lives. He always lives. But it was a good game. And despite the scoreline being quite heavy defeat, it's no mean feat to say that Liam, your team, the Daves, caused the second only touchdown conceded. Funny enough, both teams to do it were Chaos. So maybe we found a weakness in the Necromantics, and maybe it's Chaos. Maybe. Or maybe it was just some good work on both of the coaches' parts. The next fixture was the Warpstone Lovers versus Mother's Love. Now, we probably didn't expect many touchdowns to be scored by Mother's Love. In fact, they scored none. Warpstone Lovers scored 4, which is entirely to be expected. But the interesting thing was the 1 casualty by Mother's Love and 7 by the Warpstone Lovers. And we may have to start sending some investigators down, because it seems Nuffle is giving these teams some extra love for some reason, bringing their total casualties up several degrees. And it's going to be an interesting run into the end of the season, but we'll see how it pans out, as 2 teams are currently making their way at the top and are almost touching level pegging. The final game is the Hairy Fairies versus the Emperor's Eagles. Now, sadly, and no issue about it, the Emperor's Eagles coach came down with the plague and unfortunately couldn't make it to the extended time that he needed to complete the game, because they were at half-time come the first week, and with the second week we have to finish games. Unfortunately, he was just not well. Had to concede, couldn't rearrange it, unfortunately, which does give the Hairy Fairies, on a technicality, but I think he'll take it anyway, their first victory, their first touchdowns of the season, as the Hairy Fairies ran out 3-0 winners on touchdowns and 3-0 winners on Kaz. Unfortunately, concedes do offer no money, no dedicated fans, but they still do give SSP. Looking at the table, which I just realised I forgot to hide, but it's fine. You can see, topping the table, barely, is the Warpstone Lovers on touchdown difference only. Followed very closely by the Roaring Rovers, and both of those teams are still yet to play. Despite the concede, the Emperor's Eagles still hold third place entirely on their own with a 4-point gap to the chasing pack. That chasing pack is the Mad Pieces of Meat, which we call the Mad Cows, who are on 15 points. Currently got a no touchdown difference, which is interesting. They've scored 5 and conceded 5. In joint 5th place, we have Mother's Love and the Daves, who have both won and drawn 1 game, losing the other 3. The main difference is the Mother's Love have conceded less and killed even more. And in joint last place, fighting it out currently for that wooden spoon trophy at the end of the season, is the Hairy Fairies and the Undead Failures. Given the Hairy Fairies have had their first win of the season, that has rocketed them up the league, as both teams now have lost 4, won 1. It's very, very interesting. So, let's have a look at the top scorers, as well as many, many other pieces. So, topping the scoring charts, as you can see, Neek Sons on 14 for the Warpstone Lovers, Best Boy with 12. It is good to see that a team that shouldn't be scoring this many touchdowns is scoring this many touchdowns. It is an amazing feat. Gutter runners, it's to be expected. It's not nothing special, but to see a necromantic team with such scoring capabilities, it's good. The same can also be said with the Undead Failures. So despite losing 4 of their 5 fixtures so far, they've got the ability to score, with Slow Coach on 4, the Emperor's Eagles also with 4, and Sescrape of the Warpstone Lovers also on 4. We have Hermes of Mother's Love and Tenderloin of the Mad Cows on 3. I will quickly just scroll so you guys can see the rest, which are on 2 or less. Going all the way down to the bottom of the leaderboard, which is Trip Hazard. Going on to the top passers, leading the way, as expected, is Good Boy with 4 passes completed, and Caesar Bowl on 4 as well. Best Boy on 3, Tenderloin on 3, Long Bomber on 2, and then you can see the rest all on 1. Not many passes being made, but they're there. This is where it gets interesting. There's a lot of casualty causes, and I will scroll through and I'll let people pause and watch back as they want, but top of the casualty board is Raz Cree on 4, which is their Rat Ogre. On 3, we have David Blaine, Bob, Brisket, Cerberus, Ninesaw, Quicksack, Tile, Scuttle. All of mixture teams. And then everyone on 2 below, because there is quite a few. I will slowly scroll, just so you can see as we get down into the single casualties conceded. 40 individual players have scored a casualty of some description. It's probably the most open, because although some have got none, it's possible that they could get multiple casualties in the game and start climbing that leaderboard really quickly. But what we're going to do, given that we're coming into the penultimate week of the season, I'm going to announce both fixtures for both week 6 and week 7 now, and I will reiterate the week 7 fixtures in next week's roundup when we get to it. So, let's see the fixtures for week 6. First, the Daves are going to be facing the Undead Failures. Mother's Love, the Mad Cows, the Emperor's Eagles against the Roaring Rovers, which leaves the Hairy Fairies versus the Warpstone Lovers. Holy shit. That's going to leave... Oh my god, let me just double check week 7. Right, so for week 7's fixtures, it's going to be the Undead Failures versus Mother's Love, the Daves versus the Emperor's Eagles, the Mad Cows versus the Hairy Fairies, and the top of the table clash that everyone seems to be looking forward to is actually going to be the final game of the season. Top of the table Roaring Rovers and top of the table Wolfstone Lovers are going to decide the title in the last game. Oh, that's going to be interesting. And I know we are discussing as well, for people that watch, doing a YouTube live stream of that game, because people want to see it, and even people who obviously are going to be playing their own games want to go and watch it later, because it's an interesting affair between us. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Huh. I like it. But I'm going to go. I'm going to start preparing, because, I mean, no offense to Lewis, but you're a stone to me, boy. I'm going to be stepping up to the Warpstones. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good time, and hope everyone look forward to these contests. This is going to be good, and definitely look forward to the live stream. Yeah. The league will be decided here, and see you later, guys.